Good morning. Thank you guys for your patience for us to get started today. We had to take a little bit of time to do a little pivot just because we were supposed to have Sam on today, one of our incredible students who's been a part of this community since day one. However, she did have a family emergency, and we 100% empathize with her, and we hope that her and her family are doing all right and that things get okay very quickly. So that said, Sam will not be sharing her experience of being able to secure her first creative strategy client. And again, like I had said, spoiler, she accredited what she knows about creative strategy and how she was able to secure this client, a lot of which to UGC Social. So that will be for a future week. But that said, we have something very, very exciting lined up for today's training. I'd almost say that because Sam wasn't able to join this training, you guys actually got an upgrade. And that's because I'm actually going to be sharing the freebie that comes with what is my UGC blueprint, which if you don't already have it, this is going to be a preview. And then if you already have it, this is going to be a great reminder as to how to successfully pitch and close via cold outreach as that UGC creator or creative strategist. So all that goes to say, everything happens for a reason in the sense that next week we can do Sam's training, and now we get to talk about what is pitching for success from my UGC blueprint. But before we get started, I just want to very quickly do an introduction to anyone that is watching this and isn't familiar with myself or Shane. Shane, would you like to start off?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, UGC Social is about teaching you and giving you the tools to not only be your own boss from anywhere you might be in the world, but how to start a creative business and thrive. And I feel like we're in a day and age where um, this is truly possible, and it's something Kelly. I'll let her do her spiel, but as both of us come from very creative backgrounds. I've worked at agencies. I was a filmmaker in a past life. I did a lot of other stuff, and um, being able to have a creative job and be your own boss is so important. So it's really meaningful for us, and we've been watching brands and creators try and figure out what is UGC, how do I do it, and why is it so damn good? Because it's really one of the most successful forms of native advertising, which maybe we could go over that some other day.
Yeah.
That exists today because that's where the medium is. People are on TikTok. Your ads should look like TikTok, and that's why it's so successful. So, without further ado, the founder and the one who kind of kicked a lot of the UGC trend off is Kelly here, and she
Oh
can
my
intro herself.
goodness. Oh my. Well, so yeah, we created UGC Social basically when TikTok started to really go mainstream. So keep in mind, I'd been doing UGC since 2014. I just didn't know what it was called. So one of these days, I'm gonna have to dig up through all my old hard drives and find what is my UGC concepts that I was creating at the time, but wasn't realizing that I was creating them. So one of these days, I'm very excited to show you guys what would be my original videos that I worked on as that, that user-generated content creator. Fast forward to present day, we founded UGC Social with the goal to help reset expectations and train the next wave of UGC creators. Specifically because when UGC went mainstream on platforms like TikTok, there was a lot of overpromising, under-delivering, and a lot of misinformation being spread, really just oversimplifying what was the process to become a successful UGC creator. Yes, I like to say it's simple, but it's not easy. It takes skills, it takes knowledge, it takes expertise. I'm going to interrupt myself because my dog right now is getting into my cat's food, and she should not be eating Mr. Olive's food. Not nice of you, CC. So yeah, fast forward to what was May of this year, and we founded what was this online community of these free trainings. So since then, I went from full-time creative director at a top direct-to-consumer brand while also building my part-time six-figure UGC business to what is now a 100% self-employed creative contractor. And so I'm so excited to finally be at this point in my business where I'm able to leave what was my very stable six-figure salary and benefits, because I was able to build up my contracts as not only that UGC creator, but also as that creative strategist. And right now, there's a huge conversation going on in the space, which is, how do I make more money as that UGC creator? And truly, the only way you're going to be able to do that is figuring out other creative ways to offer more return on ad spend and more return on investment to your clients. And what better way to do that than to also play the creative strategy side? So that's why we're really excited to also tease the fact that we're going to be coming out with, in addition to these free resources, how to become an in-demand six-figure creative strategist. And so if you guys are watching this and you haven't already submitted your email to our Stan store, that's something you're going to want to do. I can pull up the link really quickly for you guys, because when we launch this, we're going to give a unique discount code to let you guys purchase this at a discount as a thank you for, putting yourself on the list. But Shane, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself and we can kind of kick off this training.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked at agencies for quite some time. Before that, I worked in tech doing like B2B stuff. And, it's funny, I even think back to when I was working in like the business to business sector, which is completely different. A lot of times the best sales pitches were just a video call or like a recording on like Loom to the potential prospect. And like those were the best because it was just a human interaction. It wasn't like some convoluted, sexy motion graphics artwork. It wasn't some high production budget. But anyway, I've been working in the like direct to consumer space, especially specifically with agencies, for at least the last 5 or 6 years. And UGC has always been kind of this mystery that a lot of people are trying to figure out. And the conversation around UGC is still fuzzy. So I think something I even see today, I work at one of the bigger agencies in the US. They do work all around the world. One of the things we just had a conversation about was the executives keep calling it creator as content, and it's like, first of all, creator as content, something I think I've in retrospect have heard in the past from like when UGC wasn't really a thing. But today, to see that this is kind of still a mystery to some people, even really high level people that are really brilliant marketers, they still don't really understand like even just how to talk about UGC. And so when we talk about creative strategy, something I see every day is that there's a huge need for brands, for agencies to have a creator like you who understands what UGC is and can come in as a consultant or come in as a strategist, come in as a thought leader that can say, this is what good content is. Like, I understand what consumers are attracted to. I understand, what looks native. I understand what a hook is. I understand like, the ins and outs. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand. Even some really major brands like Fortune 500 companies don't get it,
Yeah.
So they need people like you. And I think that's really at the end of the day, like a creative strategist is there's somebody who could just talk maybe eloquently, but just even the bare bones, like somebody who just gets it.
Absolutely. Also, I'll definitely take note of speaking slowly just so everyone can understand. It's incredible to know that there are people from all over the world who are listening to this.
Totally.
And being that English isn't everyone's first language, we want to keep that in mind. So thank you again so much for joining this training in the first place.
Also, if you need us to repeat anything, happy to
Yeah.
like dive deeper. This is definitely going to be like a more theoretical, kind of high level talk about like cold outreach and and pitching. So we would want to make sure that, you know, we really drill down into the details.
Absolutely. And so, without further ado, we can go ahead and pull up the Pitching for Success guide. So, before we get started, this is actually a freebie from my UGC blueprint. So, this is kind of that little preview if you don't already have it. And after this training as well, I'd be happy to share a discount code just as a thank you for either attending the live training or watching the playback video. So specifically, the reason why I had wanted to make sure that a Pitching for Success guide was created for my UGC blueprint is because a huge pain point that UGC creators have when they're starting their business is I sent all these emails to brands and I either didn't hear back from them in the first place, or they told me they're not interested in working with me. How do I secure jobs through cold outreach? My messages aren't working, my emails aren't working. And so, funny enough, when I first started what was my freelance journey, I was getting really good at doing cold outreach. And something that, with hindsight being 2020, I look back and realize that I was practicing what was brand market analysis. And so during this training, we're going to go over what exactly that is and how you're able to use it as a strategy to do a really good cold outreach message. But yeah, that's how I was able to secure a lot of what was freelance opportunities, but also full-time opportunities by spending just a little bit of time on that cold outreach message. Because when you think about it, coming from the brand side, if you get, say 10 to 15 cold outreach emails a day, you're gonna wanna, as that person sending those emails, you're gonna wanna stand out amongst that sea of emails. And so anyways, all that goes to say, during this training, we're gonna show you how to stand out in that inbox and to craft that email that shows to the potential client that, you took a little bit of extra time to show that you care about them and the brand.
That's great.
All right, so how to effectively pitch your services to potential clients, a step-by-step guide to cold outreach success. Eileen said, pitching and negotiating are the most difficult for me. Honestly, pitching and negotiating is a huge pain point for a lot of UGC creators. It's something that, even I at times for negotiating may struggle with myself. Every new negotiation is different from previous ones. And so it's something that over time it does get easier. But just know that you're not the only creator who feels this way. I would say generally, it's probably one of the biggest pain points that almost every UGC creator experiences.
Can I just add something just in case, because people come from different backgrounds, and I know sometimes we use language that I want to make sure to like people understand. I know maybe for some of you, you're like, well, I understand what cold outreach is, but I don't know if your deck goes over like what the difference between warm and cold outreach is.
Oh no, you should definitely talk about that.
So I just wanted to maybe just take a second and just to reiterate, like the reason why, or let's define it first. Like cold outreach is the process of not knowing a single person at a prospect or company that you're targeting, and being like, how do I get them as a client? You're like, I don't know anybody at Aloe Yoga, but I want them. How do I get them as a client? Right? Like that process of emailing people you don't know, connecting people with on LinkedIn. That's cold outreach. That's cold because the connection is cold. There's nothing there. And that's tough because it's hard to network or gain trust through that without a reference, without somebody to vouch for you. And then a warm lead or a warm connection would be, I know somebody at the company. I have a connection that has worked with them previously. I have a client referral from another company. That is obviously a major benefactor for you getting the job you want. So just know that like the differences between the two are very vast. It might seem like one connection isn't a big deal, but It is a big deal because ultimately they have to trust you. And if they don't trust you doing great work, or haven't had the time to even look over your profile, it's going to be hard for them to make a decision. So I think when we talk about warm and cold outreach is specifically a very challenging thing. So I just don't ever want people that are kind of new to this sales um, kind of cycle to feel discouraged.
Yeah, that was a great explanation. And also, if you ever think there comes a time where we need to give a little bit more explanation, you let me know
Yeah,
and
yeah.
be sure to interject. Also, if you catch me looking backwards, it's because we have a dog who we've had for almost 4 years, but we recently rescued a kitty. And so they're both in my office. And thankfully, they've both officially laid down. And that was just a little stressful for
I
me.
bet.
Um,
They're both very playful.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nicole, first off, for joining. We love that you're here. And Nicole said that warm lead is how I got one of my reoccurring monthly clients. That is awesome. And that's something that even for me, I've really been able to build my business around is initially I started by having to get really good at cold outreach, trying to build relationships with cold leads. But eventually, when I built my business up, built my reputation, started connecting with people, networking with people, just being an overall pleasure to work with as that creative contractor, I also have been able to scale my business through what was warm leads. And so that is either through that direct point of contact, say I worked for what was once Beta Brand before they were acquired. It's a women's pants brand. One of their employees ended up moving to another company. So not only did I have Beta Brand as a client, but I had that new client because of that point of contact, that employee who moved companies. And then eventually she left that company to Merit Beauty. And she then also hired me at Merit Beauty. So it just shows the potential for business growth, right? Is
Totally.
those warm leads are incredible. And now, present day, I've scaled my business to over what is $250,000 annually in contracts, not through one single cold outreach now because it's all through warm leads.
I'd also just, to think about like how you get clients over time. It's not just like this. It's really like it's an exponential curve. Like
Yep.
you're really like because you have references, it's going to keep going up and up and up and up. And then at some point you have too much demand.
Yep.
It's because referrals really are the number one way you'll get business, but sometimes you want to enter a new industry,
Yep.
even when you're successful, like maybe you want to try something different. Maybe you're going for that strategy job and you've just been doing UGC. Cold outreach is a great muscle to keep building, even
Yep.
if it's just networking.
Absolutely.
All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Nice. You can go to the next slide. All right. So, are you tired of pitching brands and not getting a reply? If you sighed yes under your breath, or the thought made you feel flustered just thinking about it, this is for you. And if you found success in the past doing cold outreach to brands, but are looking to compare and contrast your outreach message and strategy to mine, keep what I'm about to share in mind. I'm confident you will find value in this. So again, if you are new to cold outreach, this is going to be super helpful. And if you're someone who's like, oh, I'm so good at cold outreach, let's compare and contrast strategies because I'm sure that there's something that you can take from this. And if you're seeing this and you're like, oh, wow, I do this and Kelly didn't mention it, oh my gosh, let me know. I'd love to hear what you've been doing and how you've been able to find success doing cold outreach. So, as a creative director on the brand side, or what once was, now that I'm 100% self employed, I receive anywhere from 50 to 75 plus email pitches a week. So I get inbounds, like upwards to 75 inbounds from UGC creators, creative strategists, whatever. So imagine that inbox is just so full with cold outreach messages, which is why we're like, we want to teach you a way to stand out in that inbox. So, anyways, so you're looking at hundreds, if not thousands, of cold outreach messages a quarter from creative contractors. I share this on my TikTok, but I only respond to a handful of those hundreds of email pitches. And that's because many emails focus on the creator and talking about themselves. In contrast, the cold outreach message you should be focused on for the brand is the brand and the pain points that the creative contractor can resolve. I've always been a creative contractor since the beginning of my career, so almost 10 years ago. So I was forced to get really good, really build good strategy called what is brand market analysis. Now, before we go on to the next slide, something that I think is really important and something that I tell my students, I literally had a coaching call yesterday with one of my students, and I had told her about how the same way that you market for your clients, so like the same way you invest your time, your energy, your strategies into that UGC concept, you need to also apply that to your business. So when you think of cold outreach, when I said, don't talk about yourself, talk about the brand and their pain points and how you can resolve them, it's as simple as uncovering a problem or a pain point and positioning yourself as the solution. So one great example that I give is outside of doing cold outreach, I've been able to take pre-existing contracts, pre-existing clients who are already paying me on a reoccurring basis. I've been able to figure out creative ways to make more money by relieving them and opening up their bandwidth. So when I say relieving them of their and opening up their bandwidth on the corporate side basically means like if someone says, oh, my bandwidth is tight or my bandwidth is open, my bandwidth is tight, I'm too busy, my schedule's full, I don't have any room to take on more work. Or, oh, my bandwidth is open. Oh, I'm very flexible right now. I've got like totally open schedule. I can help you out. I can help relieve you of your tight bandwidth. All that goes to say, what I've done with my clients is when I notice that it takes them a while to respond to my emails, they let me know, sorry, it's been a crazy week. I've been so busy. I'll figure out a creative way to basically communicate, hey, I noticed that you've been extra busy. It's probably because we're leading up to Q4 of the year. And I know that with Black Friday and Cyber Monday and the holidays, I can imagine internally it's probably chaotic for you. I would be happy to step in and support you in other ways to relieve you of your bandwidth issue. And so I've been able to actually, again, position myself as a solution to a pain point, even with a pre-existing client. So there are a lot of creative ways, again, through cold outreach or even with pre-existing clients to position yourself as a solution to a problem. And ultimately, when it comes to working with internal employees, these people don't want to work more than 40 hours a week because they're salaried. They're not going to get paid overtime, but they do have a marketing budget. So being able to position yourself as a solution to a pain point you're uncovering, you have to remember that you're not actually asking them for a favor. You are actually offering them a solution.
Can I just share a cold outreach that I got on LinkedIn that I thought was really good?
Yeah, oh my gosh, please.
All right. I'm going to try and hold on. You were talking and I just remembered. Let me see. This was so good. I got it and I immediately. All right. Can you see this?
Yes.
Yes. So in terms of like, just, when you do cold outreach, a lot of it, there's a hook, right? You're used to doing hooks for your content now. And I think this was probably one of the more creative things I've ever seen done to get my attention.
Wow.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Evan. I'm always looking for creative ways to make an introduction. Two things I noticed about your profile. First, that you are also a founder or CEO of your company. And second, you're also in the software or technology space. I chose to check because I see a lot of people wasting money on marketing, which is why I started Caffeine Marketing 6 years ago to help software and technology companies actually generate leads and grow their revenue. So my question to you is if you are open to hopping onto a short 15-minute discovery call with myself or someone on our team to see if we can help you exceed some of your lead generation and revenue goals.
Like that's arguably
awesome.
like it's really great.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Eileen, that is a super bold way to pitch. I love it. And like obviously that's a lot more time intensive, but like that just shows that there is no limit to cold outreach. And also, Shane, I know we talk about this all the time. The amount of cold outreach messages we get on LinkedIn, I never respond to them, but I would have also responded to his too, to be like you said, oh
I
my
did.
God, like that was an incredible intro. Like I personally don't like need it right now, but I'll basically just keep you in mind for future reference because
Totally.
clearly he knows what he's doing. And when you think about it, when you're doing this cold outreach, it's one of those things where, you know, especially I come from the brand side, even as a creative contractor, still like 100% self-employed. I'm playing kind of the middleman between sourcing creators and working for these agencies right now. And it's one of those things where you just want to, as that creator, reflect that you know these best practices when it comes to doing your cold outreach, when it comes to having these discussions. And yeah, that was a great example, Shane.
Do we answer a couple questions real quick?
Oh, absolutely. When you have enough warm leads, would you say it's more worth putting effort into developing skill set and personal brand than doing cold outreach? Absolutely. So I'm at that point now where, like I said, I haven't had to do a cold outreach message since I'm going to say 2020. So we're going into 2024. I haven't had to write a single cold outreach message. And yet I built a 6-figure, less than part-time business in 2022. And yet I have secured 3 contracts in the past 4 weeks that are over $250,000 annually. And so that said, it is a great question because when you build your business to a certain point, you should be developing your skill sets, you should be developing your personal brand, and you should be investing your time and energy into other aspects of your business. But like Shane said, if you ever get to a turning point in your business that you hope to break into something new, whether it's an industry, whether it's whatever it might be. Like for me, I want to break into professional voiceover acting. So I'm actually going to be doing cold outreach to different talent agencies coming up because I also want to break into what is the more traditional voiceover talent route. And I currently have what is an introduction scheduled through a warm lead, but it's still kind of a cold outreach message because my warm lead is borderline cool in the sense that like it's really not that great of a
Connection.
relationship. Like it's not like they can tell their point of contact, oh, I know this person so well. It's like, oh my God, thank you so much for the introduction. I appreciate you. I hope this goes somewhere. Anyways, I'm going to be investing more time into this aspect of what would be a new part of my business. And so, yeah, definitely investing more time into developing skill sets and your personal brand is a wise way to build your business, especially
I'd
if
also
you already
say,
have these leads.
you know, there's another concept here, which is inbound and outbound leads, right? Which means outbound meaning you procured them, you went out and sought them out, and inbound meaning they found you somewhere, like they found you on LinkedIn, they found your website, they found your profile. So I'd even say, like when you say personal brand, like obviously developing your skill set, you should try to do as much as you can. But for your personal brand, doing things like starting a blog or a newsletter, making LinkedIn posts, posting to Twitter, sharing your content on TikTok, like all that stuff is part of your brand. And that's also how you're going to help generate leads, inbound leads coming to you. And I think if anything,
Absolutely.
I would focus less on obviously cold outreach, but trying to set yourself up for success so people can not only find you, but so that when they do find you, there's like a clear call to action.
Yep, exactly. And for me, for the inbounds, I misspoke. My business since 2020 has either been built through referrals or inbounds. and my inbounds are from LinkedIn. And so if you haven't already seen our LinkedIn training, it is in our Discord community. So if you just go to ugcsocial.community, in the channel labeled library, you can gain access to it. I also want to migrate it over to YouTube, but it's 100% for free. And it is, you don't need to be active on LinkedIn to be successful on there. I literally don't post on there. And yet I secured what is a contract that is like $160,000 annually.
That's, yeah, it's crazy. It's all about SEO.
Yes, exactly. So definitely watch that training. It's 100% for free. Just visit ugcsocial.community. Let's see. Would you be able to do a separate session on this in terms of developing skill set and personal branding for creative strategies specifically? So I would say watch that LinkedIn training because it does go into what is personal branding and how to creatively do it. Outside of that, I can definitely make note of this. I'm just going to screenshot this question just so I have it top of mind. And if you have any other input, we can definitely keep that in mind for a future training. Let's see, what other questions before we move forward? I've only sent 2 cold outreach pitches. The second responded, and we have a strategy call. Oh, we had a strategy call yesterday. They loved the deck I put together based on what you all shared last week. So thank you. Oh, that's so awesome to hear. Oh, that's great, Kelly. Love the name. So true. I told the brand what I thought was going wrong with their current social strategy, and that seemed to get a good response. Amazing. Yes, positioning yourself as the solution to a pain point or problem. What do you feel is the easiest way to find the right person to pitch to? Ooh, that's a good question. So if you are a UGC creator or creative strategist on the brands, the advertisement side, you're going to want to look for either director of creative strategy, director of performance creative, director of, it could even be director, head of marketing, someone that falls under the category of marketing, but specifically, I would say find the person who also has their hand in creative. Because if you reach out to what is the head of marketing, they don't know what the creative team they're at from like a mission standpoint or like where they're at from like a solution standpoint. Shane, if you have any other suggestions.
No, I mean, it's tough. There's some tools out there that do like people report like org structures, like it's a sales tool. But I haven't really had any luck with that. Because a lot of the clients you want to pitch to or your best clients like aren't, really like B2B targets or something. Like you don't see a lot of like, anyway, it could be anybody. So, I think the best thing is LinkedIn's obviously good. A good way to find people. And that's pretty much, if I ever do cold outreach, it's specifically that way. As I look up the company on LinkedIn, I look for a manager, but not a director. Or if there's a producer role, things like that. Sometimes, I would just try to avoid any director or VP or, MO type, CMO type.
That's true. Someone that's more in the thick of it.
Because even a creative director, like Kelly's obviously a very hip and cool creative director, but most creative directors I've met are kind of like, you run the gambit of them being like a USC film school grad, and they're like, oh no, we only do high level productions, 10K and up. And so you got to kind of avoid those types. So you never
That's
know.
valid.
But
Because
if
I'm
you're
sure
getting like,
oh, sorry.
oh no, I was gonna say like a manager, like if there's any kind of creative manager, or even paid media people. Like if you look up paid media teams, I think they're pretty open to UGC because they're always testing stuff and they're usually like just down to just get the contacts. So I'd look up like paid media managers, media buying, anyway with like media buying. Those are the people that are like getting the ad placements on Facebook, TikTok, things like that. I would definitely aim for those people too.
Yeah. But from like a priority standpoint, like if you're starting with doing like one message to one person on LinkedIn, I would say find someone that is, like Shane said, someone that can make an executive decision, but not decision, but like their decision or their referral of you is respected. So like a manager, but someone who is also still in the thick of it. So not that like CMO, not that like, executive creative director.
Oh, I would also say maybe another thought is a lot of the companies that even Kelly might work for, the founder's very involved. So if you think it's a really small company, I'd
Mm,
honestly just check in with the founder of a company that's like, as long as it's small.
that's true.
Um, I mean, I'd be careful because sometimes like they probably don't read their messages, and who knows what happens. But for like really small companies, like the founder's very involved in the marketing side, especially like direct to consumer companies, because
Yeah,
marketing is like essentially the pathway to scale for most of them. So the founder's very involved in the marketing side because that's how they scale their business. Um,
absolutely.
so yeah,
Lots of options.
lots
Use
of options.
LinkedIn, look up the company, go to the people section of the company, and then literally skim through the options of who you can request as a connection and send that message to.
Also, just as one more idea, you know, another good thought is to, especially if they're kind of like a lifestyle brand. For instance, like we went river rafting with what was the company that were
Oh,
that
like
we
with
went
Michael and Tamar?
no when we went on the river for the event.
Oh, Kinfield.
Kinfield, right. So like we went to an event with Kinfield, um, which is like a beauty or as a sunscreen, lotion, makeup brand.
Sounds great.
Um, sunscreen. And what was great is like going to events like that or like being involved with their marketing team that's doing outreach. Like a lot of these companies have events, and most times you'll have access to like literally the marketing team introducing yourself. They want to have people show up or people come to a seminar, especially agencies. Agencies all the time have like seminars where they're teaching things or they're trying to meet new prospects. And if you show up as like somebody who's involved in the space, ask some
Yep.
questions, maybe connect with somebody, it's also a really good way to get a warm lead.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Eileen asked this question and she's in LA. So
Right.
LA is definitely a hot spot for all of this.
For
But
sure.
also we were in Bend and Kinfield was like, we're doing a river float, come join us. And I was like,
Right.
oh, they're a former client of mine. I'd love to stay connected with their
Totally.
marketing team. All right, let's get through these questions.
Yes.
What kinds of additional services can you offer your clients? Also, hi, Marianne. So you can offer, okay, so for UGC, obviously, like you can offer the full start to finish concept. So, that package deal of coming up with the concept idea, writing the script, filming the concept, editing it, and providing that asset or assets to the team. Outside of that, you can offer script writing as an individual service. You can offer creative strategy as an individual service. You can offer direct response video editing as an individual service. I even offer what is script reads to clients. And I know that has been definitely a topic of conversation on my account on TikTok. So it's essentially where the brand provides that pre-written script. All I do is film me facing camera and just reading the script read as that persona that I'm playing. And I don't have to do anything else with it. I just send the raw asset to them. You can also sell your raw footage. So if you film B-roll for a client, you can sell that raw footage. Yeah, there are lots of different options for services. You can do UGC photos. Yeah, you can even, if you start getting really like passionate about graphic design, you can even offer graphic design.
And pitch a retainer.
Yes.
Pitch yourself as a
Absolutely.
retainer. You can get that reoccurring monthly revenue, and maybe you can give them a good discount, or good rights, whatever you might want.
And then Kelly asked, do you recommend sending a sample concept video with your cold pitch? Absolutely. So when we get to what is a certain slide in the deck that we're going over, I linked an example video in my example of cold outreach email. And that is something that I highly recommend because if you are pitching them on your services and, you know, there's nothing for me to review as that person receiving the email, I'm like, okay, well, I don't really know what to do with this email because you wrote something and it sounds great, but I want to see an example of your work. So what I like to say is always include your portfolio, but also if you're trying to pitch this person on a specific concept, provide that example concept.
Yep.
And then let's see really quickly. The
only one I saw was Eileen asked, how do you feel about automated pitching platforms like Rodeo, which I had never heard of. I was looking it up while we were talking.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't used it. I know it's like definitely a resource that UGC creators are using. That said, I don't have any current opinions on it. So if anything, that sounds like something I should brush up on just so I stay in the know of tools that I should recommend or not recommend. So TBD on that, Eileen. And then outside of that, Kelly said, just join the Discord community, the resources section. Mind blown. Yes, this is your sign. If you guys aren't already a part of this free community, like there's really like just, you know, join it. There's no harm. And it's a great way for you to stay included in very like relevant updates as we proceed and continue to offer tons of free resources and also additional resources like the creative strategy course that we're going to be coming out with, which I'm super excited about. But let's move forward. Let's go to the next slide, Shane.
Yep.
All right. So brand market analysis. Before reaching out to a potential client and pitching them your services, you should spend at least a half hour getting familiar with the brand. Okay, now at first glance, that sounds like quite a lot of unpaid time, but I promise it will eventually pay off. The more you practice brand market analysis, also known as a brand audit, the quicker this process will get over time. Now, 30 minutes sounds crazy, but like truly when you first start doing brand market analysis, you're going to want to spend 30 minutes getting familiar with how to do this. But ultimately, like I can look at a brand's very quickly look at a brand's current running ads on Meta and TikTok. I can look at a brand's current website and literally take that information and very quickly draft a cold outreach email.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't always that quick. So that's why I'm suggesting you spend 30 minutes starting out just so you can kind of get a lay of the land, more so for you and not for the brand. But also, obviously, the brand will appreciate the thought that went into it. So some things to keep in mind during this research period include, but are not limited to, who are the brand's competitors? What is their current ad content or social content? Now, the reason why I said ad content or social content is because I only do UGC for ads, but there are other creators out there that do UGC for brand socials. Who is their target demo or primary customers? What are some pain points you see that you could resolve? And you can go ahead to the next slide. Who are the brand's competitors? Depending on the brand, you may know who their competitors are already. Another creative way to find the brand's competitors is by going to Google and searching for the brand's name, going to the shopping tab, and seeing what other suggestions come up. You can also Google the brand's name followed by competitors. You'll want to review what the competition is running for advertisements, as well as what their socials and site feature. So say, for example, being that it's the company that I used to work for, 310 Nutrition, I look up 310 Nutrition on Google. I go to the shopping tab and I see that Kachava is listed as a suggested shopping option, which is a direct competitor to 310. I would go to Meta Ad Library and I would search up 310 Nutrition, but then I would also search up Kachava and I would try to see what Kachava is doing that 310 is not doing to, again, in the cold outreach message, mention that, hey, I noticed your competition is doing this and that you're not doing this. This is something that I could do for you. And I believe would offer a significant return on investment or offer a boost in revenue, yada, yada, yada. So what is their current ad or social UGC? Before you bother drafting the outreach email, you'll want to know what service you wish to extend to the brand. Are you looking to partner with them for UGC content that will be launched as an ad? Or are you looking to create UGC content that would be posted to the brand's TikTok or Instagram? Once you know what you're looking to offer to the brand as a service, you're going to want to brush up on what UGC the brand is currently using. Say, for example, I want to partner with a brand in a paid media capacity, so an advertisement capacity, and I would then immediately go to the Meta Ad Library and the TikTok Creative Center to review their current running ads. So if you just Google Meta Ad Library and if you just Google TikTok Creative Center, it will take you to those pages. You can go to the next slide. Who is their oh, and also just so you guys know, like these photos in the Pitching for Success guide are examples of UGC photos. So that could just be inspo if you're looking to break into UGC photos. Who is their target demo or primary customers? The easiest way to figure this out is by reviewing the brand's current running ads, their social media accounts, and website to see who is the face of the brand. Do you see men and women or just women? Do you see a specific age group that they focus on, such as women in the 50+ age range? It won't always be straightforward, but reviewing their online presence should give you a better idea of their target customer. What are some pain points you see that you could resolve? Now, this is like the biggest takeaway, honestly, because ultimately when you're being hired as that UGC creator, creative strategist, video editor, whatever, you are being hired to relieve them of some pain point, either a bandwidth issue internally, or they just like aren't able to find someone with your skill sets. So just really, really keep this in mind. If you're looking to create UGC ads for the brand, you're doing brand market analysis on what problems have you seen come up that you as the creative contractor could resolve.
Yep.
Something I like to tell my students is the same way you'd market for your clients, you need to market your UGC business and services. Position yourself as the solution to pain points you uncover during your brand market analysis research and communicate this in your cold outreach email. You're more likely to get a response when you position yourself as the solution to a problem the person receiving your email could be facing. When researching the brand's current running ads, did you notice anything they might be doing wrong or missing? Did you recently do a concept for another client that worked really well that you think you could recreate and tailor to fit the brand that you're sending a cold outreach message to? These are just a few questions to consider when drafting that cold outreach message.
I'd also just add as a note, like it's kind of a psychological fact that if you allow, like once you get past the cold outreach, like I don't think this advice doesn't stop at the cold outreach stage, like an email. Like even on your first meeting, I think you should always keep being aware of figuring out what the problem is, because you're not going to figure it out in your first email chain. And so just as a piece of advice, when you go into that first meeting with, you got a contact, a little psychological fact is if two people are talking and you allow the other person to talk more than you, they will think better of the conversation than if you talked more, right? So I think that advice also is helpful, because when you go into those conversations, you really want to flesh out what those problems are, and you won't know until you talk to somebody face to face, or maybe you have to talk to the right person to figure out what the problem is. And like Kelly had said before, which is great advice, make yourself the solution to that problem. Don't try and sell them on a problem. Find their problem and cater your services to be their solution.
Yes.
And the best possible solution.
Absolutely. So Kelly said, I told the brand that I was targeted by their ad, but didn't want to engage after taking a look through their socials because I didn't see anyone who matched my demo. I told them I could help fill this gap. Love that. And that is, I mean, honestly, that is like number one of marketing in present day. It's like you want to make sure that every single different group of your target consumer is being represented, because if they're not, I mean, it's like really basic psychology at the end of the day. If you don't see someone that looks like you you have a harder time relating. And ultimately, Kelly, I think that was a very creative way for you to, again, position yourself as the solution and also really kind of break it down for the brand that like, hey, I was targeted with your ad, but I didn't want to engage after taking a look through your socials, and I didn't see anyone who matched my demo. I told them I could help fill this gap. Amazing job. That's great.
Yeah, that's stellar. That's really a stellar pitch.
Go, Kelly. You can move to the next slide.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good. All right. So really quickly, here is an example of brand market analysis for Hero Cosmetics. So what you're going to do is Google Meta Ad Library. Go ahead and click on it, select all ads, and search the name of the company you're pitching, and voila, you have access to all of their current running ads. As a note, you want to make sure you use Chrome or Firefox since Safari sometimes doesn't play the ads for some reason. Go ahead and do the exact same approach but for TikTok Creative Center. You can either search the name of the company you're pitching or search in their product vertical so you can see what other competitors are creating and launching as ads. Same rule applies. Don't use Safari as ad playback has issues when using their search engine. Now let's Google the company you're looking to pitch to become familiar with their direct competition. Click the shopping tab to see which competitors pop up. If you want to take it even further, Google the company name paired with competitors, and you'll likely come across some sort of blog post or article listing their direct competition. Once you become familiar with who their direct competitors are, you can look them up on the Meta Ad Library and on the TikTok Creative Center. And of course, if you're pitching your organic UGC services, do the research you need by looking up the brand's TikTok and Instagram accounts, and then as well as their direct competitors that you come across when doing your Google competitor search. Something that I noticed during my brand market analysis is that Hero Cosmetics has a UGC concept running on Meta that opens with social proof. However, it doesn't really spotlight the unique selling points that set the product apart from its competitors. Whereas Rael, one of their direct competitors, has a UGC ad running on Meta that not only goes in depth into their value props, but also sprinkles in social proof.
100K reviews. See what everyone's been saying, emoji right arrow. These are my go-to
Keeps
patches.
me from popping
Where have
pimples.
these been all my life?
So this will be a pain point I'd showcase in my cold outreach message. Fun fact, Shane and I used to work on Rael when we were in-house for a boutique agency.
That's right.
Yeah, I still use their products to this day. I'm actually like a really huge fan, but I also love Hero Cosmetics. So we can go to the next slide. Also, I see that Marianne said, I definitely use these steps in pitching to a brand. I went through their social media and paid ads, and I gave them content ideas that would diversify their content and ads. Amazing job.
I also, oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, obviously, even when you do all the right things, not every cold outreach message is going to be a home run, but you're essentially hedging your bets on
It's a numbers game.
Better return. Yeah.
Totally. You're not going to get it every time. It just reminds me, I think we were talking about even doing it today, but in terms of competitor analysis and stuff, we've been starting to use this tool called Foreplay that has some pretty awesome stuff for this. Like, I'm really excited because we'll work on it later. But if you're interested in like diving deeper into that, like competitor analysis, like getting inspo examples, definitely check out Foreplay. But we're gonna do a training on it sometime in the future.
I'm sending the link just in case so no one has a hard time finding it, because I tried Googling Foreplay.
It's such an unfortunate brand name, but they went with it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm done with brand market analysis. Now what? Now that you've done the research, it's time to present your creative strategy to relieve the pain points you plan to mention in your cold outreach message, followed by a brief introduction that includes your name, how you found them, your title, and what you specialize in, a relevant UGC example similar to the creative strategy you're pitching, And of course, a link to your portfolio and your case studies. And I believe it was Kelly that had asked, oh, do you include an individual UGC concept? That is the suggested approach, is to provide the specific UGC examples similar to creative strategy. But keep in mind, it doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to be your edit. Notice how, we'll go over it in a second, but I am going to reference what is, hey, I noticed your direct competitor is running this ad, and I link it. But I noticed that for your video here, you're not doing this. And then outside of it, you could either link, oh, and this is an example of a concept I've done for a product in your category, or this is my portfolio if you'd like to see a variety of my work. All right. So we can go to the next slide. Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Cold outreach example. Hey, Hero Cosmetics marketing team. My name is Kelly, and I'm a fan of your mighty patches. I was scrolling through Instagram, and I was targeted by one of your UGC ads, linked here. I noticed that the ad featured social proof. However, it didn't touch on the many unique selling points that set the mighty patches apart from the other pimple patches on the market. Attached is a UGC concept I found on Meta that Rael is currently running, one of my former agency clients. I noticed how they featured social proof like your ad, but also included the unique selling points that set their patches apart from their competition. I'm reaching out because I'm a UGC creator with an extensive DR marketing background. Most of my former agency clients were beauty and skincare brands, so I'm familiar with what works for this vertical and how to best connect to your target consumer. If you're equally as interested in furthering the conversation of working together, I've attached my portfolio, rates, and case studies for your review. I'm familiar with taking UGC concepts as inspo and putting my creative spin on them, and I'm confident I would do the same for you. I look forward to your reply.
So and then a video of you burning money.
Burning the Rael pimple patches.
Yeah. Now that I got your attention.
But so anyways, notice how it's like, it's quick. It's to the point. It's not too long. Honestly, I could probably put it into chat GPT now that I use it and make it even shorter. But it's essentially like, hey, I'm a fan of your mighty patches, literally like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words. Because the thing is sometimes I get messages where they'll do like a whole paragraph dedicated to why they love the product. And it's like, that's too much time spent like reading on a paragraph about something relatively irrelevant, right? Like as that full-time employee, you have so many emails to go through. So just keep it short and quick. You're familiar with the product. You like it. I was scrolling through social media. I saw this ad, but then I also noticed that your direct competitor is doing this and you're not. Attached to the concept, blah, 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 blah. So it's just like a lot quicker and to the point. I know there's also a piece of advice that I've seen other creator coaches recommend, which is like, don't say I look forward to your reply, like have like more initiative, but like ultimately it's really up to you, because I don't know, sometimes as the person on the brand side, when the creator's like, I'd really like to get on a call with you, in my head, I'm like, I'd rather activate you virtually and like not have to talk to you respectfully, like nothing against the creator, but it's like, as that creative director at the time, I was like, I don't have any time to get on a 15-minute call with you. Like if you send me your portfolio and I know you're legit, like I'll remotely and virtually activate you, and I don't want to get on a call. So ultimately it's really up to you on how you want to pose that like last sentence or call to action. But for me, it was more so like, if you're equally as interested in furthering the conversation of working together, here's my portfolio, here's my rates and my case studies for your review. I look forward to your reply.
Yep. That's great. I definitely feel like doing the Bible sales, like foot in the door type, kind of tactic just isn't, people just don't like that,
Yeah.
Especially when you're a marketer and you see sales pitches every day, both in your business and just like online. Just be kind of yourself. And I think one thing that is important that I've been hearing a lot more lately, from brands that want to work with UGC creators, and they're like looking at which creators were more successful. The kind of, I guess you'd say, it's not a fact, but it's something that a lot of brands are talking about, is that they found better results when the UGC creator is actually a user of the product. So they've actually had times where they've sourced creators who, you know, had shown interest in the product or bought it previously, or they got connected via their actual product or were following them. Like they were doing a little bit of DD to make sure, due diligence to just like make sure like that this person actually likes their product, because they found the results were way better when like they were getting like super fans, so to speak, coming in, people who had actually bought product before. So even go buy their product, even if it's not expensive, obviously, but showing a little bit of like, I love your product, I use this product religiously, or I thought it was really cool. Like just give them some compliments on the product itself, and I think you'll find it's easier.
Absolutely. And I love the agreement to the whole like putting a video call CTA in your email and like realizing that it's actually making the process more complicated for the brand side. It's just one of those things where like as two people, myself and Shane, who come from the brand side, we just like have that added perspective of just like, and that's, you know, that definitely plays a bias in how I operate with my UGC business and how, you know, it is different from other creators out there and other creator coaches. And that's not to say that what they're doing is wrong. Ultimately, how you operate as a business owner is 100% up to you, and that's empowering. But that said, like, because I have that have those two perspectives, for me, I've really tailored my business to really not just fit for me, but also fit for my clients. And I know for other creators out there, they're like, well, like these are my rules, they're rigid. And like, if you can't follow them, I don't want to work with you. That's quite all right. But ultimately for me, I'm looking to cultivate these relationships with my clients to have these long-term opportunities. And that's at least how I've been able to not only continue those long-term opportunities, but also secure future ones through referrals of those points of contacts. Nice. All right. And I think that's it for, for the Pitching for Success guide. I had actually shared earlier what was a discount code to the Pitching for Success guide. So if you guys go to, if anyone's interested, it's obviously, it's kind of a long HTTPS, but the discount code for the blueprint is live20 for anyone that's watching this. And I will link my Stand store in the YouTube playback video. But I'm pretty sure if you just go to like Stand store /UGC social, I think you'll find my store. Let's see. Cool. I'm going to send this link instead, just so it's easier for anyone that is interested. Just because this was the freebie that comes with what is my blueprint. Outside of that, does anyone have any questions that we can go over before we end this live?
Yeah, feel free. Literally anything too.
Can be about UGC, creative strategy, video editing. It can be a specific pain point that you're having. Quick question, if you guys don't mind. I moved to the UAE and the UGC market is completely different here. Would you recommend putting more effort into local or tech brands?
I could take this. 1,000,000%. I mean, we were working with someone in the community who was traveling all over the world, but primarily was living in Greece.
Yes.
And she had some good results working with more local brands. And I don't know, like, it kind of depends though. Like, you know, obviously for maybe, it depends where they're running ads, right? So if you're, you know, if you're not a fluent English speaking speaker, like that might impact you working with American brands. Like I probably couldn't work with a French company that's advertising in France because I don't speak French, right? Very early. I could try, parlez-vous français, but I don't, you know, I can't, right? So I think it's something to think about, like in that respect of actually the delivery of the message. But that said, there's a lot of brands out there, especially in the UAE. I mean, it's a big hub for a lot of corporations and businesses. So I say there's definitely opportunities out there, and maybe the nuances that you're seeing are, it depends what the nuances. You say it's completely different. I don't know if that means specifically with getting work or how work is priced, or you mean specifically like what kind of content they want. But that is a niche. We talk about niching down all the time, finding a core proposition to say, well, I specialize with companies in the UAE. There's not a lot of good creators that know local businesses or the nuances of our country. It's like that's a great niche to pitch. So yeah.
Absolutely. And as someone that's also sourcing creators from literally all over the world for an agency that's in Australia, they have me searching high and low for creators in specific countries that are like really hard to source creators. So if anything, like I say all the time, like if it's something that you feel like, oh, well, like it's harder here, I would wear it like a badge in the sense of like, so brands know that you're located in the UAE, just because one, there could be brands who are having a really hard time sourcing creators there and are trying to find them. But two, I mean, ultimately, there are brands who ship internationally, right? And so you can also secure opportunities that from brands that do ship internationally and maybe are not just located in the UAE. Oh.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Rebecca asked, what rates are y'all quoting? I have had a couple inbounds that haven't moved forward yet after sending my rate card and just wondering what is industry standard. I thought it was 200 to 300 per video. So ultimately, it just depends on the creator, their demand, their skill sets. For me personally, I'm quoting anywhere from, if it's like a very basic script read, $300, and like I don't have to do anything, that's like the lowest I'll go. But that said, when it's like a full-fledged UGC concept, I'm charging anywhere from $500 upwards to $1,000+ per concept. And why I say like that kind of like wide range is it's dependent on the SOW, which is scope of work. And when I say this, it's because if you have a flat rate of say $200 to $300 per video, if the client comes to you and says, I have a 15-second video for you, we just need you to talk at your desk and just add in some B-roll of you using the product, that's a totally different request from, oh, we want it to be 60 seconds long and we want you to play these different personas and we want you to wear these different costumes and we want it to be like kind of like a skit. And so I don't know if you're already doing this, Rebecca, but I definitely recommend that you do starting rates. And again, it's based on the scope of work. That way, then you can protect your time and energy. But there are creators out there who are new to UGC, but feel confident to charge what is like kind of the conversational industry standard, which is $150 per concept. But then there are creators, like when I was in the creator house in Austin, I had a creator ask me, okay, Kelly, like I talked to all the women here and they told me that I'm undercharging. I charge, I think it was like $300 per concept. What do you think I'm worth? And I was like, oh, girlfriend, you need to be charging like $500 per concept because you are undervaluing yourself. Yep. So what I would say, Rebecca, is I would review your work. I would also review other creators' work and try to see what portfolios reflect similar skill sets and similar qualities of UGC that also are reflecting from your portfolio and see what they're charging. I'm really big on pay transparency, and I don't think there's any harm in even asking creators what they charge as well, because the only way that we're going to, as collectively as an industry, charge a standard that is fair for the work that we're doing is by being very open and honest.
Yep. 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
I'd also, just as a, I just want to bring it up because maybe this is a little bit off topic, but we had talked earlier about how to, like, what other services you could provide, like to maybe like increase that per project amount. And something I think Kelly has been doing that I think is really genius is she adds in, and I don't know if she's like pricing that in directly to her pricing, but adding in like 30 alternate hooks, or like adding in like, not only am I giving you this, but I'm also going to film 30 alternate like one-liners to test. And I can't tell you how important that is going forward to try and add into your offering, because the news that we got this week at our agency is that AI is playing a way bigger role in ad placements. And what that means is that they recommended that we test 20 different versions of an ad at a time when using the AI ad placement, which can be anywhere from 20 to 50 to 60% of like the strategy. In short, that just means brands are going to start really looking for creators that can offer a ton of variation. And I think it's really simple to add in, I'm going to give you 30 alternate hooks, and you just record 30 different one-liners, right?
Yep.
You can even have ChatGPT help you brainstorm 30 one-liners, and I think you can really increase that rate more, and I think brands will like it. So anyway, that's just a little piece of advice.
Absolutely. So Marianne had asked, because I believe that this is coinciding with what we're talking about right now about the oh wait, no, sorry, I'll answer this question in a sec because I want to give my also like feedback. So Shane's referencing a specific brief that I drafted as a creative strategist for one of the agencies that I worked for. And so what it was I had provided 3 individual scripts, but they were like very simple. Like the script read itself was like between, I would say, like 20 seconds upwards to 60 seconds. So there was 3 of those. And then we had asked for like bulk hooks to be able to properly A/B test. And in that request, there were like 32 alternate hooks. And so that's a little bit more excessive. Like as a creator myself, I wouldn't normally charge that. I wouldn't normally send that much, but I've in the past provided, I don't know, like a dozen hooks to clients.
Right.
I've
Yeah, maybe that's
charged
excessive, but
the reason why I had bulk asked for 32 is because this client is going to be needing like crazy output. So crazy that it's like, we need net new concepts, but like more so iterations to keep up with their requests. So I was kind of like cutting corners and like trying to figure out creative ways to like match the amount of ads this client needs. And so a creative way was like, okay, well, let's just like do extreme A/B testing for hooks. So we don't have to do like 100 individual concepts. But that said, Shane's not wrong. So one of the things that I always tell creators, if you're creating UGC ads for your clients, so like not organic social posts, for every one concept you create for a client, so like they hire you for one concept, you are doing yourself a disservice if you are providing them just one video. And the reason why I say this and why Shane explained what he did is because if you're not providing at least one alternate hook to do proper A/B testing, and also 2 aspect ratios, so vertical for TikTok, stories, and reels, and 4:5 or 1:1 for feed like Facebook and Instagram, you are again doing yourself a disservice, because if you create an ad that's meant for TikTok, it could actually flop on TikTok, but perform really well on Facebook. There are so many contributing factors at play. Maybe the main demographic actually lives on Facebook and isn't on TikTok. And that's just one of many examples. So anyways, yes, definitely providing alternate hooks is huge. And you should definitely be doing that if you aren't already. And it's a great justification to raising your rates and justifying that higher price point. Because when I charge a client $1,000 for a concept, they see it as, we're really paying $200 per concept because she gave us, for 250 for 4 or whatever the math is. I only realized after I was sourcing creators for a UK brand that I was heavily undercharging. Yes, absolutely. And it's one of those things where like, until you start getting exposure to other creators and what they're charging, you really don't realize if you are undercharging or not. So definitely pay transparency is huge. So don't be afraid to ask creators what they charge. All right, so I'm new to the UGC community. I'm finding it hard to get brand deals. Any tips on what I can do to get deals? Okay, so whenever there's a creator that says they're having a hard time securing opportunities, I say that it could be one of 2 things. Either your cold outreach message, which I know you had mentioned that you joined this training a little late. So once it is archived on our YouTube channel, you should 100% watch it over from start to finish, because we go in depth on how to write a successful cold outreach message or 2, it could be your portfolio, which I have another video on my YouTube channel, which literally talks about me being someone that reviews UGC creators' portfolios and what I look for in their portfolio to hire them. So I'm going to pull this link for you and send it in the chat, copy and paste it, and it will take you to what is the video UGC portfolio tips from a marketer who hires creators. So it's either your cold outreach message or your portfolio. So again, rewatch this training from start to finish, watch that portfolio video, and you should be able to figure out ways to adjust your strategy moving forward. All right. UGC question. Do you have any advice on onboarding with agencies, but on a retainer basis, or how to pitch this kind of service? As I have received quite a lot of messages from agencies, but they are looking for more of a roster than creators to work on a retainer basis. Interesting. Let's see. Can you pull up the first question, Shane?
Yep.
Do you have any advice on onboarding with agencies, but on a retainer basis? So what you could do, and like, I understand the roster aspect because I'm also doing that with creators, because so just to give like context to why they probably are like, we want to keep you on the roster versus like commit to you, is because agencies just don't have consistency. I was going to try to explain like how they lack it. They really just don't have it, because ultimately the clients that they're working with, like if they're working with Hero Cosmetics and they're creating advertisements for them, Hero Cosmetics as a client could churn like next week. So it's really hard for them to commit to a UGC creator and say like, we can commit to 10 videos a month with you, because ultimately, if they have 20 clients that are paying for the agency services, they could churn in a moment's notice. So it's really hard to make those commitments. And I'm also sourcing creators for 2 different agencies right now. And I've had creators who they're doing all the right things. They're like, hey, like this project was great. I'd love to work with you on a more reoccurring basis. And I have to respond and say, hey, unfortunately, we can't make any commitments. However, you've been added to our roster.
Right.
So, and I don't know, Shane, if you have any other contacts. I know.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, Kelly's right. Like, they probably won't work with. I mean, maybe they will. I mean, it depends on who. Like, you know, if they have a big deal with a company and like they know they need X amount and the brand is okay with, like, it just depends. Like, it totally depends on the agency. Like, I know my agency probably wouldn't do that, just because we have so many different clients and we constantly want different creators. But that said, I think there's a couple of things you could do. One, if they have a Slack channel, say, you know, hey, like, I'm totally available anytime. Like, sometimes you could just tell them, sometimes I like being involved enough as a resource, you know, add me to a Slack channel. And you can reach out anytime if you have questions, right? Try to be as available as possible and like keep those leads warm. Reach out and say, hey, do you need any help? Like, try to keep those leads warm, because agencies are going to be your best friend for finding work, because they constantly need people and they want to work with people they trust and know. So 1,000,000% just keep the lead warm and try to do everything in your power to, like, honestly, if you can, I haven't done this personally, but get in their Slack, you know, even as not a retainer basis, just be there so that you're a resource, or offer something that they won't get from other creators, and they're going to love you because they need it. They need all the help they can get.
Yeah. And the only other suggestion I'd have is like, you could try to pull if you commit to a monthly retainer, it would come out to a discounted rate of whatever per concept. So you can try that angle, but ultimately, hopefully this like clarity from like the agency's perspective, like at least helps you understand that it has nothing to do with you. It's more so the agency is like, oh God, like we don't know if we can make a commitment because our clients could churn at any point.
And it's a margin game for agencies too. So like keeping you on retainer eats into their margins. So they're going to be careful about making commitments like that, unless,
Absolutely. So Rebecca, I think it was your question when Shane mentioned providing the alternate hook. So added in for free or additional purchase. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole justification of your higher rates come into play, right? So like I given the example of, I'll do easy math here. So say like you charge $800 per concept, or well, we could do 400 per concept because I know you said you're charging 200 to 300, and it would be kind of a big leap to take that. So let's say you are like, okay, I want to raise my rates to starting rate of 400, and you work with a client, and the scope of work equates to $400 for that concept. And you're kind of like, oh my gosh, like I feel a little like scared charging this. The brand in their eyes, they see, oh, I'm getting 2 hooks and 2 aspect ratios. I'm getting 4 videos for $400. They're $100 a piece. Talk about girl math. Like it's only $100 per video. That's amazing. But also at the same time, it's not doing you a disservice either, because the alternate hook took you 2 seconds to do. And then the resize, yes, it takes a little bit more effort, but it's hedging your bets on better performance on your advertisements, which ensures higher likelihood that the client will continue to work with you. Mm-hmm. So that would be my piece of advice there. And then let me get to Marianne's question, because I know that she had asked this and I pulled it up before and I was like, oh, I'll answer it because I mixed up the questions. In talking about script reads, where you basically just read hooks and then B-roll, do you charge it as per video or do you charge it lower as a hook? I'm very confused by this. So you would be charging it by hook and not by video. But that said, well, so it could be 2 different things depending on how the client provides it, right? Like if the client is like, hey, we have like this like list of hooks in a script read format. I've charged per hook before. I've also charged like just generally by word count. Ultimately, it's really up to you, but like it is going to be in a way that it's like affordable for the company. So like in the sense of like, you know, you wouldn't charge like, say the brand gave you 10 hooks, you wouldn't charge it per like the individual video charge that you would charge. So like say you charge $150 for a UGC concept, you wouldn't do like 10 hooks times $150.
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't. Yeah, for sure.
And then providing B-roll as raw footage, like you obviously just want to make sure that you're charging for that. You're not like just giving it for free. So like if a brand says, hey, like our budget for this project is X, and this is like what we're requesting a script read, we're requesting B-roll. Is this okay? You know, that's ultimately up to you then.
And I would also add, you know, when you're coming up with pricing for anything, think about your time. Because we talked about this on a previous call where somebody had a question where they were like, well, it takes me longer to do videos. Like, you know, how does that affect my pricing? And just think about like, if it takes you, you know, X amount of time to do a video concept and it takes you maybe 10% of that time to do an extra hook, like price it in like that, right? Like try and think about your time, because that's, you know, at an agency or any creative business, like everything's measured in work hours. So, you know, just try to think about like, what is that extra time worth to you? And, you know, try to make sure that your hourly rate is where you want it.
Yep. And so Kelly, I pulled up her question just because it's in tandem with what was Marianne's question. Still unclear about how to charge for hooks, I think Marianne's question. Yeah, so it really comes down to, I would say more so like, yes, there are one-off times where the client's like, here are 10 hooks, please read them to us. I would like just become familiar with like how you charge for hooks. Like in the past, depending on the client's budget, like I've charged $25 per hook, I've charged $50 per hook, or the brand's like, hey, we have a budget of this, like, can you do it for this? Mm-hmm. And then you kind of just, like Shane said, you look at it and you're like, okay, it's going to take me 10 minutes to film this. They're going to pay me $250 for this. That is a really good hourly rate. I'm happy with that, because you're not even making $250 per hour. You're making $250 per 10 minutes. Like that's a good deal. Yes, some creators would play devil's advocate and say, oh, but the brand, they're going to get those hooks and they're going to get so much more. Like I want a cut of that. And so I think one thing, after being on the brand side for so long, I have a level of like empathy and understanding that like the hooks that I'm charging like also need to be like relative to like the effort and versus like the return. Because like, sure, you could be like, oh, well, I provided 10 hooks and that's going to make them so much money. But like, ultimately the brand has so many more like liabilities and overhead that you don't have as that creator. And it's not like necessarily like tit for tat, if that makes sense. And like, Shane, I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but it's like, it's basically like, you know, the brand has employees on payroll. They have COGS, cost of goods sold. They have so much more overhead than you as an individual. And ultimately it's less about the, oh, well, my hooks are going to make this brand so much more money, I should be charging them way more. It's like, not necessarily, because like it's not like a fair playing field because they have so much overhead.
Here's the way I'd frame that is the reality like for this business is that hooks are not, don't think of it as like, for you it's an extra deliverable, but when you're testing this stuff, that hook is like an extra dice roll, right?
Yeah. Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, it is, because you're, you know, every time you run these ads, you're really, there's risk involved. Not, you know, obviously maybe for the brand, whatever, they have tons of money, but the reality is like your ad is more likely to do better the more variations you can provide them to an extent. Obviously, there's a max limit on that where you end up just cluttering you're diversifying too much. So I would really think about it in terms of that when you provide extra context for them to use, you're honestly improving the chances that your ad is successful.
Yep.
Because, you know, all it takes is one different hook, one different B-roll shot, something that clicks, and all of a sudden you have a better, you know, click-through rate. You have a better, like, some messaging you used matched the landing page really well, and all of a sudden the conversions are really high.
Yeah.
So just think about that, because otherwise they'll stop using you completely.
Yep.
If the ads aren't working.
Yeah. Or if you're being
yeah.
tricky to work with, right? Like if you're like really trying to pull the whole like, well, I deserve more. And like Shane said, it's less about like you providing all these hooks and they're all going to be winners. It's just an extra dice roll. I love that example because it's true. And that extra dice roll changed the perspective of thinking. It's not for the betterment. It is going to be for the betterment of the brand, but it's not at a loss for you, because if you hedge your bets and you get a better performing ad because you provided these hooks, guess what? The brand's going to want to work with you. So it's like one of those things where it's like, don't have the limited mindset of, oh, and I, you know, no one said that they do this, but I just know that it's a topic of conversation in the space of like really adjusting that perspective and understanding that like the more you can hedge your bets as that UGC and creative strategist, yes, the more money the brand's going to make, but also the more opportunities that are going to come as that creator.
But also, you know, just as a counterpoint, protect yourself. Like, don't settle either. So like,
make sure you're being compensated fairly.
Yeah. I mean, we've all been in situations, especially when you get priced per project and all of a sudden your hours go way over.
Yep.
And like, that's not good either. And the brands know better. There's a lot of brands that will exploit you. So as much as it's like, there's risk involved, there's a lot of brands that will exploit your pricing. So you just always protect yourself and be conscious of your hours, because it's the only way you're going to measure whether it's, you know, a good relationship or not.
Absolutely. Can you hear Olive meowing?
Yeah.
Olive, come here. Oh, he's so cute. Let me see if I can bring him over just to say hi. Read. Can you read a link?
Yeah. My last question, I promise. You can ask as many as you want, Elena. No worries. I have 2 creative strategy clients I'm doing a trial with at the moment. Any tips how to, oh, look at that handsome boy. 2 cuties right there.
Oh my.
So any tips on how to ensure that they retain me? Maybe Kelly, you have, I might have an answer, but I'll let you go.
Yeah. So also you can ask, Shane said it, but like literally the questions are what make these trainings, because guess what? If you're asking it, it means that other people are thinking it. Hey, Miss Girl, Cece, hold on a sec. You stop that. We're not playing. You're out, girl. You're out.
Booted.
You booted.
She got booted.
She gets to hang out with Shane now.
Very
Okay.
easy.
So I have 2 creative strategy clients and I'm doing a trial with at the moment. Any tips on how to ensure that they retain me? One, you want to make sure that you're easy to communicate, easy to reach.
Mhm.
2, you want to make sure that you are filling in the gaps that the company has. You want to be a solution to the many problems that they're experiencing internally. If you can be easy to reach, easy to work with, and also let them know that you are there to help fill in the gaps when it comes to creative strategy, I think that that is going to be a great first step working with that client. And the reason why I say this is because I just started working with a new creative strategy client this past week, and I made sure to be reachable. I made sure to let them know that, hey, like I'm here to support you guys. I
Mhm.
will be independent to an extent, but being that this is us now working for the first time, it's going to be a little less intuitive for me. So if you ever see an opportunity that I haven't personally seen to support the creative strategy initiatives that we're working on, let me know and I can hop into whatever it is that will make your life easier.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, Kelly and I talk about this all the time. We talk about this book called The First 90 Days,
Yep.
which is about like strategies for when you started a new company or you're working with somebody, like how you approach the first 90 days working together. And the one takeaway of many that we talk about all the time that I think applies so much to this is you have to, in order to be useful or like your value to be apparent, you have to find a problem and then literally force yourself to become the solution. I mean, that doesn't mean get political and kick people out of being a solution, but because then you're just forcing a problem. But there's always a problem, whether it's like the company's not thinking about competitor analysis and looking at other brands, and you're the one that's coming to the table with a bunch of examples. You know how to use a tool that helps speed up workflow that they don't. A lot of these things are hard skills, but being able to be that person for a company is invaluable. Like for
Yep.
instance, I work in an agency, and one of those things for me is that whenever they sell a big production, like it's a legit commercial, 30K 40K production, I'm one of the people on staff that has so much experience editing that, color grading, doing motion graphics, that they're like, well, we have to keep him because when we sell those, we can just bring everything in house. Right. And that's something I know, so whenever those productions come up, I go, well, yeah, of course I want to do this because I think that's something that I am a solution for them to do internally.
Yep.
So it's obviously different from what you all might be doing, but hell, maybe you get into motion graphics, or you figure out some type of format that they're not already doing, or graphic design, and you're like, I can actually do multiple different types of deliverables.
Yep.
So I think those are all ways to like expand and just really look for that problem and listen for that problem.
Also, it doesn't hurt to also ask and say, hey,
Yep.
being that this is a trial, I want to make sure that there are set expectations here. When you think of like things that you're looking for me to achieve during this trial and like manage and handle and spearhead, what are those things? I think really like setting those expectations early on. And if you haven't done it already and you're like, oh crap, we're already like middle through our trial, you can say, hey, I wanted to do like a touch base. And I wanted to see that since starting, if anything has changed as far as like expectations go, because I want to make sure that I'm always over delivering and that I'm never falling short. And I feel like the best way to do that is to just touch base and see, since being here, is there anything that you want to see more of? Do you want me to take anything else on? Are you like experiencing any issues that I can help resolve?
Yep.
Having that open conversation is great.
I just want to add also, because Kelly and I talk about this too, is sometimes you can have bad clients that aren't a good fit for you.
Yeah. As much of the trial as it is for them, it's for you.
And if you're over communicating and they don't respond well to that, dude, they're not going to work out. Like, that's not going to be a good client for you, and the relationship's not going to last.
Yep.
But if you're over communicating and they're respondent, it means they actually like are really putting in value to your work because they want to hear what you have to say. They want to see you perform. Like, they should want to hear from you. So if you are over communicating and you're not getting feedback, it's a sign that they're not serious about either the relationship or your position, or just the general strategy of what they're doing is not, it's not going to work out. But that's okay. That's perfectly fine. It saves you the trouble of wasting time on a trial too,
Yep.
or after a trial.
Absolutely. So Nicole asked, outside of LinkedIn, do you guys have a way to find agencies to reach out to? Honestly, LinkedIn is really the best place, in my opinion. Outside of that, you could just start Googling and becoming familiar with like up and coming boutique agencies or bigger agencies as well, and even do cold outreach. But LinkedIn, in my opinion, is the place that you should be. And less about being active, because like I know that is like could be a full-time job, but more so about the SEO side of like
Totally.
branding your profile to be found by these agencies.
I'd also say, if you're doing the cold outreach, like a good way to do it too is look up, like if you look up UGC marketing, like related terms on Google, a lot of agencies use blogs, seminars, things like that, that are meant to drive traffic for those search terms. And if they're coming up when you look up what you offer as a service, UGC, TikTok ads, things like that, and they have articles about that, and they're like new articles, like guaranteed they're going to be looking for somebody like you. So try to look on Google too, because you're going to find a lot of, like Kelly had mentioned, boutique agencies that are, don't have the same kind of connections or reach or time to look on LinkedIn.
Yep.
So definitely try Google. I mean, I swear it's great. And look for blogs and who's writing those blogs.
Absolutely. Oh, and now we got Cece on the other end whining. How'd we end up with the two most vocal pets? You guys, I honestly don't think I have learned as much as I have in these sessions. I appreciate you so much. We appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for attending these. Again, like UGC Social's mission from day one has been to help make alternative education accessible to all, while also helping creators essentially work less and make more, the same way that I've been able to over the course of my career and over the course of building my business. Is it possible to get a creative strategy client with no previous experience? If I get a creative strategy certification, I need to go back and watch the creative strategy video. So the thing about creative strategy is it's very nuanced, and you don't need a certification per se. What you need is just to have the understanding of best practices. A lot of the times, if you're a UGC creator who's coming up with a concept idea, writing the script, filming and editing the concept, you are operating as a creative strategist. You are operating as a creative strategist when it comes to coming up with the concept idea, writing the script, and creating what is a native appearing concept. Outside of that, yes, you should 100% watch our previous trainings that we've done on creative strategy on YouTube, but also we have a ton of incredibly informative prior trainings in our Discord community in the libraries channel. So if you go to ugcsocial.community, that is where you will be able to join. It's for free. Join the Discord. And if you go to #library, you will see a ton of previous resources there. And then additionally, shameless plug, we are going to be coming out with a paid resource to become an in-demand six-figure UGC creative strategist. So stay tuned for the coming weeks. If you go to my Stan store and you submit your email, you'll be notified when we launch, and you'll also receive a discount code that will only be exclusive to anyone that submits their email.
And also, I just want to add on the certification part, we're talking about doing a certification for these trainings. And with that, we think we could offer ourselves, like, while it's not necessarily might be recognized by most, like we can offer ourselves as a reference for you. So if a client's like, oh, what is this certification? And you can tell them about what you learned, and like they could reach out to us and we can give like notes or information on what that entails, and that we, recommend you.
Yeah. So think of the certification, which we will be offering with the course, as like literally like an opportunity to have us as a reference for future opportunities, which we think is going to be super invaluable. Elena said, I put creative strategist in my Twitter name, and that's how I landed my first client this way. That is awesome. Let's see. Are you and Shane looking for someone to mentor? So being that our bandwidth, look at that, bandwidth is super tight. It's very hard to do one-on-one mentoring. That said, we are going to be doing these weekly trainings every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So consider us your mentors, free of use every single Saturday. And again, your questions make these live trainings what they are, because if you're thinking it, or if you're asking it, there are other people on this training or listening to the recorded version thinking the same thing, but maybe we're too afraid to ask. So please continue to use this as a resource every Saturday. Outside of that, make sure you're following my TikTok, UGC Social, and then additionally join the free community on Discord, because that is another place to reach us free of charge. And then outside of that, shameless plug, obviously we have paid for resources in my Stand store to be able to help expedite that learning curve and essentially give you what is kind of like that pathway versus, trying to recreate the wheel and figuring it out for yourself.
And Kelly does offer one-on-one coaching calls. So
that is true. I do offer one-on-one coaching calls. That's also in my Stand store. Let's see. I'm trying to go through the questions really quickly. Okay. I struggle with using LinkedIn because of my full-time job. I wish I was able to have a secondary account. Oh yes. And I think we talked about this last weekend. You might've been the person that had asked the question about this. Make a business page, because I totally understand having a full-time job and not wanting other people to see it. Yeah, I would say business page. And then, yeah, it's kind of hard if you have connections like from work on there. But I mean, ultimately, I don't know how many times people are looking at your profile, but if you like low key just make like an extra experience and just say that you're a UGC creator, and that it's like basically been active since you started, just don't have LinkedIn share it to your audience like as like a new job. And then just make sure that the job that showed in your profile at the top is your current full-time job.
Yep.
All right, let's see. All right, while waiting for your creative strategy guide, are there any other resources online that you find valuable? Can't wait for it to drop though. Honestly, these trainings every Saturday, we make it what it is based on your questions. And then again, joining the UGC social community. And then obviously me being active on TikTok is going to be a great resource as well, because I'm going to be talking about creative strategy much more. Thank you, Nicole. The Discord group is worth joining. I'll definitely try to tune in every Saturday, as this has been so helpful. That's amazing.
And obviously you can watch it back anytime. So
yes. Oh, I love this. I asked for money for my birthday just to book a one-on-one with you. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That is so sweet. I have to screenshot that. That is just so sweet. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Let's see. Thank you. Thank you again. See you next Saturday. Amazing. Well, look at this. We went over by almost an hour. So we've been on now for an hour and 40 minutes, and we enjoyed every single second with you guys. Thank you so much for joining this training. Again, join us next Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and come prepared with something to take notes, and come prepared with questions. You're never asking too many questions. Again, your questions are really what make this live very special, because again, if you're asking it, other people are thinking it. No question is ever too stupid. Honestly, the questions are what are going to make you a better creative strategist and marketer.
We're also talking about doing a seminar where we go over people's work or portfolios or something. So if you guys have any interest in that, shout out in the Discord.
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely where we get our ideas for these videos. So
yes.
If there's something that you want, or you would love like that one-on-one feel, but you're okay like sharing that and getting like feedback publicly, like we love that. It's a great way to get that for free, because we definitely want everybody to learn, right? We talk about pay transparency, but just like being transparent about quality is also good. And yeah, so we love having you. Please join the Discord. Yeah, get the blueprint. I mean, it's
Yes.
super helpful.
So the pitching for success is a bonus in the UGC blueprint. So there's like a whole like 70 plus pages left of the actual guide. But use Live 20 if you do want to grab it. And this it's stand.store/UGC social. And then if you want to stay up to date on when we launch the creative strategy course, which is going to be, we're already at like 15 plus chapters, and it's going to be with a really nice deck, but then also like a PDF, but also it's going to be video and audio. So it's great for like audible and visual learners. And it's going to be like a legit course. Like it's not going to be a guide. It's going to be like an actual
full video course.
a full video course. And then when you submit your email, which is also in my Stand store, you'll be notified upon launch and receive a discount code that is only going to be unique to anyone that submits their email.
Amazing.
Yay! Amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you guys later.